Hey guys, welcome back to a new episode of Hellmouth Hotline. We're getting into a movie called Straight On to Morning from the Hammer collection, and tasty little film that I really did enjoy, more than I was expecting. So before we get into that just another little reminder that there's more than just this podcast happening, and if you want to check out any of that, go over and check out the main website, coinsagemedia.com. Right, enough time wasting. Let's get into the episode. We're doing Straight On Till Morning now, part of the Hammer collection. This movie is from 1972 and it stars Rita Tushingham, Shane Bryant. James Bolam is on there as quite a popular face from, well, not my childhood, but I was under the old school sitcoms and whatnot. He was one of the Likely Lads, which was a great show. I loved that when I was growing up. So he's on here, pretty small role, but Rita Tushingham is absolutely brilliant in this film. Again, with a lot of these Hammer movies, these really old ones, like a lot of them are slow burners. This one here was actually, for the first 40 minutes of it, I was really considering just turning it off, chucking it to the side. But there was something about Tushingham's character in this film. It just kind of kept me in there. She plays a naive young girl who writes children's stories to kind of amuse herself, and she decides, she's desperate to get herself settled down, get a man, have a child. She tells her mother she's pregnant and moves away to London, and yes, from Liverpool I should say. She gets a job in a boutique in London and moves in with a promiscuous, that's a massive word for this time of the night, young woman called Caroline. But that whole circle that she runs in, they're very stylish. It's the mod squad, everybody's, it's the height of the 70s style. And Brenda Tushingham's character just does not fit in. She's like the ugly duckling. Basically, it's the ugly duckling story here, and yes, she doesn't fit in as hard as she might try, but then she meets this guy who she's attracted to. She wants to meet him, and the chance comes when he's out. His dog has run away, and she kidnaps the dog, takes it home, gives it a bath, cleans it up, brings it back to him in the hopes of getting to meet him. So they end up starting a relationship, and it turns out that he is a psychopathic serial killer, and the girl, Caroline, that she was living with later on in the film, along with Brenda's mother, who's worried about her, hasn't heard from her, all to do with this relationship. She's now in with this serial killer guy. He's kind of like keeping her back, not letting her get out of the house and whatnot, because he's seeing things in the paper where girls are starting to go missing. And of course Caroline ends up getting killed by him as well whenever she finally tracks Brenda to this house. It is an excellent little film if you give it the chance to be. Like, as I say, at the beginning of this film, for the first half hour, 40 minutes or so, I can kind of take it or leave it. But if it wasn't for the absolutely brilliant performance by Tushingham, I would have been out of there and gone long before the final 25 minutes of the movie that are absolutely brilliant and pretty disturbing in a way. He records the audio of his killings, essentially, and at the end of the movie there's a sequence where And it's one of these ones where I've actually tried to look it up online to see what the actual ending of the film, the meaning of the end of the film, I should say, because it's kind of open-ended. He is obviously really in love with this girl. She's really in love with him, but the big thing for him is he hates anything beautiful. And that's the thing that will drive him to killing people. Like the dog she cleaned up, brought back to him, he killed the dog because it just looked so pretty, as he said, and he ended up killing the dog. He's just got a thing against beautiful things. By the end of the film, Rita Tushingham's character Brenda, she actually goes to a salon, you know, gets all dolled up, makeup, the whole 9 yards, new dress, the works, and she's absolutely beautiful. And at this point, you're expecting him to kill her, but instead, he gets her into his room where he's got the audio of all the killings all lined up back to back. But there's a section in the film earlier on where her and him actually sat down and started recording some of the stories that she was writing, the children's stories and whatnot. And there is a very disturbing sequence of her in the room alone. He's out in the stairs listening to what's going on. She's basically trapped in this room with the audio recording of the dog getting killed, a woman they killed at the start of the film, and Caroline, who took her in earlier on, getting killed. And she freaks out. She's screaming the whole way through this here. It's a very overpowering noise in the edit. And it's like, it was really, by the time you get to the end of that there, it's so intense with her screaming plus the screams of the people on the audio that were getting murdered. And it's just so uncomfortable in that there last sequence. I actually had to turn the sound right down. It was just it was just getting me. By the end of the movie, she freaks out. She's trying to run from the house, but she's locked in, and he comes, he grabs her, and he's kind of like, you know, I could never hurt you sort of thing. But in saying that, the end of the film is basically him sitting on his bed in the room where she was listening to this audio, but there's no sign of her. That's where the movie finishes off. You don't get that bookend of, did he kill her as well? Because, you know, he did at one point, and I want to believe that he didn't kill her. I want to believe that he let her go at the end of the movie, but I wanted to confirm that. I went online, tried to look it up, couldn't find it anywhere. So if you have that info, please get into the comments of this video or the audio podcast where you may be watching or listening to this here. You know, get into the comments, let me know. Do you know, have you actually read the book? I could do that, I just don't have the time. But I'll just be curious to figure out if I'm right. You know, did he let her go? Did he kill her? Not so sure. But as a very, very good ending, very satisfying ending to the film. I like movies like this that leave it kind of open-ended so you can have your own interpretation of what happened. I love that sort of stuff because it kind of gives you a little insight into your own mentality and frame of mind of where you're at now. Obviously, I'm quite optimistic because I genuinely think at the end of this movie he didn't kill her, but she didn't want to stay, so he let her go. That's what I think. But could be 100% wrong. She could have her throat slit and buried in the backyard for all we know at the end of this movie. But we do know he ends up on his own in the final scene of this movie, and it closes off, and it's a very, very good, very satisfying little film. If you give it a chance. That's the unfortunate thing of today's viewers. We don't have the patience that we once did for watching things, and if it doesn't grab our interest within the first few minutes, we're not going to stick with it. And I can guarantee you at this point in the video I'm talking to myself right now, because I have seen my own figures, and you know, it's very rarely anyone will get to this stage of a video. But yes, again, let me know what you think in the comments. Did he let her go or did he kill her? That's going to do it for this episode. This has been a production of Coins Age Media. Thank you so much for listening.